I hear a lot of people saying the blues, but I'm gonna tell you what the blues is. When you ain't got no money.
Okay, so today we're welcoming Mark Hughes, who is an Australian singer, songwriter and guitarist who lives in Melbourne, Victoria. Mark has over 20 years experience in the music industry, playing gigs including pubs, clubs, private functions and weddings, along with supporting different headlining acts by the likes of Mark Seymour, Ross Wilson and Daryl Braithwaite. In 2021, Mark created his own podcast called Sans Mantra, where he released his original music as well as moonlighting on vocals and guitar. However, as of last year, has decided to focus solely on creating and releasing music. We're very lucky to have him joining us today on our podcast. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
It's good. Yeah, good
Great to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we have some questions that we are going to ask you, I guess. Joe, would you like to ask Mark the first question?
Good idea. And let's go. So first question, what got you interested or started on your music journey? Did anything or anyone inspire you to become a musician?
As a 6-year-old, I'd listen to that with headphones on from start to finish. And so I kind of went from listening to the Beatles to listening to a lot of different bands. I think that's probably the first great love I had with music, which was probably the Beatles, I think, like a lot of people. I still enjoy their music to this day. So, yeah, as long with a lot of other different bands, I guess. There's lots of different moments, I think, in every musician's life where things just go bang and they kind of light up parts of your brain, I suppose, and you realise that that's what you want to do. And eventually I got piano lessons, and then I started learning guitar, and it just sort of went from there, I guess. Then I started getting involved with other people at high school and putting bands together and things like that, and writing my own music. And I was a very creative young child as well. I used to draw a lot. So I think when I got into music, I started making up my own things, which were songs. So it sort of went from there, I guess, yeah.
That's really awesome. Joe, you also are currently taking piano lessons, aren't you?
Of course.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And how are you finding?
Fantastic.
How are you finding your piano lessons?
My piano lessons, my parents who helped me to find the right place.
They do, They can be a little bit challenging at times, can't they?
Yeah, it's true.
But it's all part of growth, right?
Right.
And did you, Mark, ever find your piano lessons when you were learning to also, be a little bit challenging? Because that's normal, I would think, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I swapped over from piano to guitar because I went and studied music at TAFE, and I got in as a piano player, and then I got there and I realised that there were people there that were so far better than I would ever be, and I was becoming more interested, on the piano that is, and I was becoming more and more interested in guitar, so I swapped over to that. But I still enjoy playing the piano, and I think it's a really rewarding instrument. You can really do so much with it, and it's a really good instrument to write your own songs on as well, because it's all there. You can see all the notes under your fingers. So I think it's like with anything in music, you kind of get back out of it what you put into it. I think I really believe that.
That's really, really true with everything in life, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, do you want to say the next question?
Did you take music or singing lessons or did you learn how to play or sing independently?
So, yeah, I guess you answered that with the music lessons, but in regards to singing lessons, did you have any?
Yeah, well, to answer that, I started just singing without any lessons, and I'm not probably what you'd call a natural singer. I think playing guitar and playing piano comes much more naturally to me. But over the years, I've developed my singing just through working at it, I guess, and playing lots of gigs and singing and finding out what works and what doesn't. And I have had a couple of lessons along the way where I've wanted to go and find out ways that I could use my voice better. In fact, I had one probably about a month or 2 months ago. I just wanted to brush up on some things that maybe I couldn't quite figure out myself. So that was really helpful, because when you go to someone who's a specialist, they can look at you and say, okay, you're doing this, this, and this. If you were to do this, this, and this differently, then you'd get a better result. So I went probably about 15 years ago and had a couple of lessons, and that really helped. And then recently I had another one, and I've been a bit slack. I haven't done what she she said I should do, but I'm planning to do it. So I hope that answers that question.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it does. Cool.
I think just talking about that subject too, I think when you see really famous singers who can sing really, really well, even if they're really, really talented, there's a fair bet, and I'm sure that all of them would have vocal coaches so that they know how to look after their voice and how to get the most out of it. Like all the pop stars of today they'd have someone that they can go to and say, even if it's just so they know how to look after their voice, so they can sing night after night after night and not lose their voice, for instance. So I think everyone who is singing has someone, whether they're a teacher or a coach. I'm not sure if they're two different things, but yeah, someone to sort of say, this is how you look after your voice. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Ed Sheeran on some talk show very recently, actually. It's interesting how things come, full circle. But yeah, he shared a clip of him singing before he got famous, and he was saying that he also wasn't a natural singer, but with with the practice and the singing lessons and things like that, he actually was able to perfect his delivery and, I guess, technique as well. And the audio that he shared, it was quite off key, so it gave
really
it really was, yeah. And he's so talented, right? Yeah.
Well, I look at him as someone. I think he's just someone who could sing from an early age just amazingly well, because he's got such an amazing range and hits the notes and everything. But that's really interesting to hear that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, very interesting. So yeah, there's hope for all of us. Well, not you guys are very talented, but yeah.
Cool. That's it. Well, this is the funny thing about music. Everyone can dive in to some extent, Everyone has got an ear. Everyone can hear the difference between something that's really high and really low. When people say I'm tone deaf, it's not actually true, because everyone can tell the difference between a rumble from a truck on the freeway and a high-pitched, say, ambulance siren or whatever. You say that's high and that's low. So you can tell the difference between high and low. So then you're just getting into degrees of how well you can pinpoint the notes in between all the tones. So yeah, everyone can, with enough work, get something out of music,
Yeah.
You get out of it what you put into it.
So true. Cool.
What was your first big live event?
I think that was probably at an art exhibition. I think it was in Glen Waverley, and I was hired to play just very mellow background music while people were walking around this art exhibition. It was for, I think, about 2 or 3 hours, and I didn't even really have a proper PA. I had a guitar amp, an electric guitar amp that had two inputs. So I put one, my microphone into one, and I put my acoustic guitar into the other, and it didn't sound too bad. And I just played very mellow. I think I might have even played my electric, actually. So I didn't even have an acoustic guitar. So it was just very mellow, things like Cat Stevens or even instrumental things, just playing some nice chords. And so I think that was my first professional gig.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that was, you've got 20 years experience in the music industry, so that's pretty profound amount of time, with your journey. So yeah, like some of the other acts that you've, from what we've researched anyway, that you've performed, alongside some of these really well-known Australian artists, like that's amazing. Like we went actually to, what was it, the Red Hot Summer Tour last year, and
actually it's early this year, and we went to
January.
see
Early this year.
we went to see Paul Kelly, Missy Higgins, and other.
Mark Seymour was there as well. So
Wow.
yeah, it's quite amazing that you got to sing like alongside, or perform, alongside some of these people. That's incredible.
Yeah, no, well, it was. Thank you. Yeah, that was a bit of a highlight. Those gigs were out at a place in Frankston, I think, and we were picked to be, the band that I had at the time was picked to be the support band for Mark Seymour and Daryl Braithwaite, and I think Ross Wilson as well.
That's awesome.
And yeah, they were really cool things to do. But it's funny you mentioned Mark Seymour, because I actually saw him about a month ago at Manny's, which is the local music store near where I live, and he walked past me, and he's actually quite short, and not that means anything, but I was surprised that he was a bit shorter than I thought, because he always looked so tall.
Yeah.
And I just looked at him and smiled at him like he was an old friend.
Oh.
That was my reaction to him, and he just smiled back at me and then kept walking. And then I said to the young guy that was serving me, I said, "Oh, that's so cool to have someone like that walk through." And he goes, "Oh, who was it?" And I that was Mark Seymour, like, an Australian music icon from, Hunters and Collectors. Oh, yeah, okay, that's right. I know that, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. So it has been a cool journey to go from doing a gig like that in an art exhibition and then being able to support people like Mark Seymour and whoever else, and and I'm looking forward to to even better things with the music that I'm planning on releasing soon. So
Yeah, that's really awesome. Cool.
Besides playing guitar, do you play any other instruments?
Yeah, well, as I've said, I play keyboards, and I play a little bit of bass as well. I'll sort of put my hands on anything and just get a sound out of it, really. But as far as, like, in public, I prefer just to play guitar because that's what I'm most comfortable on. But I certainly play a lot of keyboards while I'm producing music, and I have a piano as well, which I think you can see behind me on the screen there. And
Yeah.
up until a few years ago, actually, I was even practicing on that every day because I just wanted to get more out of it. So, but then, life got busy again, and at the moment I'm just practicing guitar. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it happens,
Yeah.
right? Life.
Yeah, it does.
When performing in front of a live audience, how does it make you feel? What is your experience like?
I love performing. I love creating music. I love writing music and writing lyrics and everything that goes into making music at home or in the studio. But I love performing as well, and I love the feeling of entertaining an audience. So I also love. I think for me, it's a little bit of a cheap thrill too, because I know a lot of people are interested in extreme sports, and you know, I like the idea of all that. I like the idea of taking risks, but for me, playing gigs is a really, really safe way to get a bit of a hit, you know, a bit of a buzz, you know. So so I'll still get nervous sometimes when I'm playing gigs, and I enjoy that. I enjoy the, you know, especially when I'm playing in a band. If I've got a band gig, then, you know, there's a bit more, because mostly at the moment I've been playing solo acoustics. So if I play in a band, it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, to be honest. You don't know what everyone else is going to do. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that feeling of yeah. I like the risk of playing live, and I like the feedback from the audience. And there's no better feeling than coming away from a good gig, so, which is why I think people just keep doing it, you know. So
Awesome. Cool. That's so, really interesting. And I can understand it must be somewhat of like an adrenaline rush. So, and you're right, it is a far kind of safer way to experience like that high than, like jumping off a cliff, or bungee jumping, or something like that. So, that's cool.
Absolutely. Well, why does Tom Cruise keep making the Mission Impossible films? He obviously loves the adrenaline, doesn't he, of doing all those stunts. And,
Interesting.
you know, he's a guy that can do it, and he's committed to training, and he's got all the support behind him to do all those stunts safely, or as safely as they can be done. But for me, you know, in inner city Melbourne, just going out and playing a gig gives me a nice kick. So, yeah.
Yeah. Plus, it's creative, right? So, like,
yes.
it's a really awesome way of, like, self-expression or form of self-expression and art. So,
Absolutely, yes. And thank you for saying that, because I forget that is part of what I love about it too. Like, it's a great way to express yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And spontaneously. Yeah, it's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of all of the songs you have written, do you have a favorite to perform live?
That's a great question. I would love to come back to you in a year or so and answer that, because, to be honest, I haven't really been playing my original stuff for a long time. So I've been working as a solo acoustic artist, mostly doing cover gigs, and I've been releasing my Sans Mantra stuff alongside that. And I've had projects in the past where I've tried to put a band together too early, and the music that I'm trying to get across is too complex, or it's too layered, there's too many parts, and it's very hard to put a band together. So I've got a lot of ideas for how to bring this music to the public, but have it still sound the way it should, with all the parts included. So so I'm looking forward to kind of stepping into that live area with my original music now, with this current sort of project, Sans Mantra. So yeah, to answer your question, I think I'd be better placed to answer that in a year or so. I think when I've got the ball rolling and I've started doing some proper original Sans Mantra gigs. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'd be definitely happy if you'd like to come back on in a year and, you know, discuss more. And it would be really cool. You know, we obviously live in Melbourne as well. So, you know, to come out to a gig one day and see you perform, that would be like really awesome, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
No, that'd be awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. It'd be great to meet you guys in the flesh.
Yeah, right? Cool.
Over the 20 years that you have been in the music industry, how has it changed? Have there been any significant changes?
Oh, absolutely. I think the biggest one is that people don't buy music anymore. So
Wow.
music's become it's become like a utility. And I remember David Bowie predicting this. He said music will become a utility that you pay for, like gas, like electricity, like water. And he was exactly right, because how do we all consume music now? It's the same way we consume TV and movies. You know, I've just got a new computer, and because, you know, I'm older, I've got a Blu-ray player in it because I don't want to give up my Blu-ray discs, my movies, my DVDs. I have to admit, I don't play CDs much anymore because it's just so convenient to stream music from my phone, and I enjoy it just as much. But, yeah, I think back even 10 years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, have you guys heard of a guy called Gautier? An artist named Gautier?
Yeah, does he sing that song, Somebody That I Used to Know? Yeah.
Yes,
Oh.
he did. So that was a huge worldwide hit about 2011, 2012. And without wanting to go into, you know, that side of it too much, he made a lot of money out of that because people were still buying CDs. So if he brought that out now, chances are he wouldn't have made nearly as much money. So I guess there's still money to be made, but it's going to come from different areas like playing live or merchandise or even Patreon or, you know, it's all that content now. So a great song used to be a great song that you'd go and buy and you'd enjoy it. But now it becomes just another bit of content alongside. I might stream that song, or I might watch a YouTube video. I might watch a YouTube tutorial on how to make a podcast. You know, there's all these different things, and they all fall under content. So I think that's the biggest difference. But I also think, I was just thinking as watching you guys to see if you knew who Gautier was. I think things move so quickly now too. There's so much stuff out there that I think it's very difficult for one. I don't know if it'll ever happen again if one person, artist or band will capture the imagination of, look, there's always going to be an Ed Sheeran or a Taylor Swift, I suppose, but even 10 years ago, it feels like there were more than that, you know, and now there's just so much music. You know, there's probably 1,000 artists that you guys would love straight away waiting to be discovered by you, but how are you going to discover them if we're all reliant on algorithms pointing us that way? Unless you kind of, do you know what I mean? There's just so much stuff. It's like an ocean. So I think that's the biggest change, I think. Yeah, which is great because it means that everyone's got a chance to put their music online, you know, and it just becomes down to how much effort and money you want to put into marketing it, I suppose. And stuff that I think is amazing will always find an audience anyway. But, yeah, I guess there's pros and cons to you know, yeah, when there were still CDs and, you know, now that there's none, you know, now it's just streaming, you know, so...
It used to be a whole experience, like when I was growing up. So I'm 34, and when I was like a young teenager, you know, you used to go to, was it called like Sanity or like those CD shops, right? And they used to have the headphones there that you could put on and like test out like the CDs that were the hot thing at the time. And then you could decide if you wanted to buy it. And, you know, it was like a really cool like experience, even though, you know, it was mostly promoting the mainstream kind of stuff. But yeah, it was more of an experience. And then having that physical copy like in your hand and, you know, reading through the booklet and looking at the photos of your favorite artists and all of that. Like it was a whole thing, whereas you're right, it is more digital now. And I personally think that it does have its pros and cons, but, you know, in the sense that everyone kind of has an opportunity to share their music, for sure. But there's something kind of cool about, like, having things, like, tactical in your hand, you know. It's like, you know, writing in a book versus typing, like, on a computer. Like, it's got its pros, of course, but... You know, I feel like you're almost more in the moment, embracing like the beauty of whatever art it is, whether it's music or if you're writing, that can also be kind of considered an art. Yeah, like you just don't really have that now. It's very fast paced, and even like some like of the quality of some music I've found, like if you look at hip hop from the 90s and even the 80s versus the shell that it's become now, you know, like just, it's really interesting to see, like the quality has kind of changed, but then you've got like younger people of today who might think that that's great music. So, yeah, you just, I'm still waiting on another version of Pink Floyd from my era or from our era
really?
now. Yeah, wouldn't it be so cool to like have a Pink Floyd of today? But,
yeah, absolutely.
well, yeah.
I agree with you completely, and when you said it's the difference between writing in a notebook and the keyboard, I mean that really really hit me, because I have started doing that in the last year too. Instead of keeping lists, I still keep lists on notes in my phone of things, mostly like to do with my music. I'm talking about, but I actually went and bought a notebook because I thought I don't want it scattered all over, this in the ether, basically. I want it in a book, and it's exactly. Yeah, so do you think it's maybe it's the sanity experience, going in and listening to some music? You're actually making time to listen to music and go and evaluate it, and then go, okay, I'm going to make a commitment to that CD, and then I'll take it home because I've spent money on it, and I'll allow the tracks that don't grab me straight away, I'll give them time, to grow on me. Whereas now it's like next,
Right,
next.
right. So true. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely live in the information age, and there is just so much of everything kind of just there, and navigating through that can be difficult for sure. Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, very interesting.
When creating a song, how would you describe your creative process?
That's a great question, because I think it can go a few different ways for me. I think usually it's something that's inspired me, or it's just kind of hit me, and I go, oh, okay, or it might be something someone said. I've got a really bad habit of just sort of turning phrases into music. Like I'll hear something and then try to turn it into a rhyming couplet or something straight away. It's probably a good habit for a songwriter, I guess. But so I'll try and if I get an idea, I'll record it into my voice memo. I'll try and put down as many other ideas as I can think of at the time, and then try to start putting it together with some beats or something in the computer, or on the guitar. So it can go either way. You can write on the computer or on the guitar or on the piano. Last year I started trying to write lyrics just as a stream of consciousness for about 10 minutes in a journal, and I managed to fill up probably about 30 pages, which I was pretty pleased about.
That's pretty incredible. Wow.
Yeah, it was really fun. And then it started to become a bit of a chore, so I stopped doing it. But I've still got probably a few songs waiting to be pulled out of, those sort of stream of consciousness, like, word dumps that I was doing, in this diary. And that was because I found myself getting hung up on trying to make lyrics work, and that was kind of holding me back, I thought. So I thought, well, I'll just try and I won't worry about whether it rhymes or anything. Or even if it makes sense, and I'll just write it down. And I came up with some really interesting stuff doing that. So when I get through my current backlog of songs that I've got waiting to be finished, I'm going to go back to that diary, and I know there are some songs waiting for me there. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like usually I find, when you kind of just flow, it kind of comes together, whereas when you sit there and with whatever in life, you try to kind of, have these, wouldn't even say like expectations, but, like these ideas of like how it kind of should connect, or, it seems to kind of stagnate a little bit. So,
yes.
Yeah, it's really interesting you said as a stream of consciousness, just kind of letting it kind of happen. Well, thank you for sharing, your, I guess, creative process with us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Are you currently working on any new projects?
So I've got a whole heap of songs that I, for one reason or another, I just haven't managed to finish. That I'm planning on bringing out as an album, I guess, this year, and so that'll be under the my Sans Mantra artist name, and all these songs that I'm planning. So the singles that I've been releasing up till now have been from an album that I'm planning to bring out this year, and I've just finished. I'm just in the middle of upgrading my gear, my studio, because it was just sort of not working well enough, and it was kind of starting to, slow me down. So, on this next week, I'm hoping I can hit the ground running and just get back into finishing stuff off and releasing it. So
awesome.
So yes, that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Cool, it's exciting.
Wow. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, we're actually really looking forward to hearing the album when it comes out. So that'll be really cool. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. What did you want to share? What your favourite song is?
One of my favourite song right now, easy to say, is
Of Mark Hughes' songs.
of Mark Hughes. One of my favourite songs
we were talking
is
about what his favourite song of yours is.
Anyway, one of my favourite songs is City String.
City Shrink.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it reminds me like kind of uplifting songs, which is about like sunshine or something like that.
Yeah, really
it's
positive
awesome
and uplifting. Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, I'm so stoked to hear that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, and your instrumental stuff's really cool as well. Like we were just like driving, after our sessions, because we'll drive back and I'll drop James off at home, and we just had some of it playing, and I can't even remember like what it was called, because like I was driving and he was putting it on, but you just get like so lost in it. It's like a journey. It was really cool. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Really cool.
Maybe that might have been the James Bond track that I did. It was called You Only Dig Spies. Maybe,
Okay.
I'm thinking. Yeah, so that was there's a program on PBS FM called Black Wax, and it's hosted by a guy named Adam Rudiger, and he's a musician himself, actually. He's a great pianist, but he loves like funk and sort of funky jazz, but he's also a big James Bond music fan. And so last year he put out the call to all these Melbourne musos to do basically reinterpretations of classic Bond themes. And that was my one. So it's actually a piece off, there's a movie called You Only Live Twice, which was one of the 60s Sean Connery James Bond films. And there's a composer named John Barry who did a lot of the James Bond music. And so he did the soundtrack for that. And there's a piece of music at the end called, I think it's called two names. It's called either Space Capsule or Space March. And so I took that piece and I reharmonized it, and I kind of I just did my own kind of imagining of it, I suppose, and then I put all these other different. So maybe that was the one. I'm not sure, but yes. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not sure either, but you're very talented. So, yeah, the instrumental stuff's great. You're so welcome.
Thank you.
And last question, do you have any advice for people wanting to expand their horizons within the music industry?
Oh, gee, that's a good question. I think just try things out that you think might suit you, and then by doing that, you'll find what does suit you. Because there's so much to kind of explore in music. There's so many different ways you can go. You can be a solo artist, you can be in bands, you can do cover work, you can be an original artist.
Wow.
And by doing that and going out and doing that, you'll meet other people and like-minded people, and then you'll become part of a community. And there's no greater feeling, I think, than finding your tribe, as they say. So I think follow your nose, follow your instincts, and then take note of what works and what doesn't. If you feel like you're doing something that doesn't kind of sit well with you, then change it and try something else, because it's like it's a universe out there. It's a whole universe to explore of music. So and enjoy it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's really great advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for Liz. Thank you for welcome to join our podcast to interview you today.
Yeah, it was a really great opportunity.
Thank you so much. It's my absolute pleasure. I'm really, like I said, really rapt to be a part of it and to be asked. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome.